Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time when you stop asking for permission to succeed, to rise, to become unstoppable. That time is now. The difference between average and extraordinary is not talent, not luck, and certainly not circumstance. It's mindset. It's the relentless decision to keep moving forward when others quit, to think with clarity when others panic, and to act with certainty when others hesitate. The most powerful people in the world are not waiting for the right time, they create it. They don't chase motivation, they build discipline. They don't hope for opportunity, they prepare relentlessly until opportunity has no choice but to notice them. Being unstoppable is not about force, it's about focus. It's about knowing what you want so clearly that no distraction, no doubt, no discouragement can pull you off course. To outperform everyone else, you must stop comparing and start commanding. Command your thoughts, command your habits, command your future. Success doesn't respond to the loudest voice, it responds to the most consistent one. The voice that says, I'll do it again even if it's hard. I'll do it again even if no one claps. I'll do it again until the world can't ignore me. Remember this, nothing in life can permanently hold you back without your permission. And the moment you take full responsibility, the game changes. You stop being a player in someone else's story and start writing your own. So, if you want to be unstoppable, if you want to outperform the rest, stop waiting and start building. Build the habits, build the belief, build the resilience, and become so consistent, so prepared, so focused that no one else stands a chance. Because once you master yourself, the world is yours. Now let me tell you something most people never learn. Before you can outperform the world, you must first conquer the battlefield in your own mind. Everything you will ever achieve, everything you will ever become, begins with thought, not action thought. Action is only the echo. Action follows belief, and belief is born in the secret, silent conversations you have with yourself when no one else is around to hear them. There is a law, invisible yet undeniable, that whatever you impress deeply on your mind, whether it's success or failure, power or weakness, begins to take shape in the world around you. Your reality bends in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. If your thoughts are cluttered with doubt, hesitation, and fear, you will find those very things meeting you at every step. But if your mind is governed by faith, intention, and purpose, the world has no choice but to yield to the strength of your will. Now, this is not some lofty idea meant for dreamers. This is a principle you can test in the laboratory of your own life. Look at anyone who has ever achieved anything of great significance, and you will find the same pattern. First, the mind was made up. First, there was a decision so strong, so certain, that no setback, no voice of criticism, no circumstance could derail it. That kind of mindset, the unwavering one, is not inherited. It is built. It is forged day after day by a person who understands that while they may not control the world, they do control how they respond to it. They control what they feed their thoughts, and they choose to think like a champion long before they ever win. The masses move through life reacting. They are tossed about by conditions, the economy, the weather, other people's opinions. But the unstoppable individual, they decide. They choose their inner world so carefully, so intentionally, that even when things fall apart around them, they remain steady. They know that chaos outside does not require chaos within. Your thoughts are seeds. Every day you plant them. Some are seeds of courage, others of doubt. Some are hope, some are fear. And like all seeds, they do not remain dormant. They grow. And they bear fruit, the fruit of your attitude, your behavior, your success, or your failure. So, if you want to change your life, don't start with your actions, start with your thinking. You must become the master gardener of your mind. Be ruthless in uprooting the weeds of self, pity, procrastination, and fear. Replace them with clarity, confidence, and purpose, because no one is coming to do it for you. The most dangerous lie ever told is that the solution to your problems is out there, somewhere. It's not. It's inside you, waiting to be called to life, and I'll tell you something else. No one ever becomes unstoppable by accident. It is a conscious, deliberate effort. You train your thoughts like you would train your body through repetition, discipline, and intention. You speak what you want to see, not what you're afraid of. You hold an image in your mind of the person you are becoming, and you refuse to let it go, no matter what the world throws at you. This is why two people can face the same obstacle and walk away with two completely different outcomes. One man sees the wall and says, "That's the end." Another sees the same wall and says, "That's where I begin." The difference isn't luck, it's not money, it's not education, it's mindset. One chose to believe he had no power. The other chose to believe nothing could stop him, and that choice made all the difference. So before you look outward for the next opportunity, the next breakthrough, the next secret, look inward. Ask yourself, what am I really thinking every day? What do I believe about myself, about success, about my future? Because until you clean up the roots, you cannot expect different fruits. Until you command your thoughts, you will forever be a servant to circumstance. But the moment you choose to become the master of your mind, that's when you become dangerous. That's when the impossible starts to bend. That's when the world begins to respond to your certainty, not your doubt. Because the truth is simple, you will never outperform your mindset. Make that strong enough, clear enough, and unstoppable isn't a dream, it becomes your baseline, and that is where everything changes. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Motivation is a myth. It's unreliable, it comes when it wants, it leaves when it pleases, and if you build your future on it, you're setting your life on a foundation of sand. You will not become unstoppable by waiting to feel ready. You will not outperform everyone else by chasing inspiration. The people who rise to the top, who break records, who shatter limitations, they operate on something far stronger than motivation. They live by discipline. Discipline is the difference maker. It's what you do when no one is watching. It's the choices you make when no applause is coming. It's waking up and executing when your mind begs for comfort, when your body says no, and when your circumstances whisper that you can skip just this once. That's where power is built, not in the grand moments, but in the quiet ones, the early mornings, the late nights, the unseen hours when you choose to act anyway. I've seen it over and over again. People start strong. They're excited, they're loud, they're energized. They say they'll change the world, and for a while they move with force. But then something happens, a bad day, a setback, a distraction, and the fire dies out. Why? Because they were fueled by emotion, not conviction. They moved because they felt like it, not because they decided to. You see, emotion is seasonal. It rises and falls, but a decision, a real decision, is permanent. It does not bow to how you feel. It does not seek comfort. It stands firm. That's what discipline is, a commitment that survives your moods. If you want to separate yourself from the pack, you must build discipline like a muscle. You don't wait for it, you train it. And how do you train it? By keeping promises to yourself, small ones, daily ones, until your mind understands that what you say you mean, that you don't negotiate with excuses, that you don't delay for comfort, that you are in charge. The man who acts only when he feels good is a slave to the moment, but the man who acts because he must, because he is locked onto a vision that demands his best, that man is free. He is dangerous, because nothing can stop him, not bad days, not rejection, not fatigue, because he has mastered the one thing most never will, himself. And let me tell you something else, there is no such thing as discipline without resistance. You will not find ease in this process. You will be tempted, you will be tired, you will be mocked, and every single time you will have a choice. Go back to comfort or keep moving forward. That choice determines your destiny. Not once, but every single day, people will ask, "How did you do it?" And they'll expect some secret, some hack, some shortcut. But the truth is so simple it disappoints them. I did it because I said I would. And I kept showing up long after the feeling left. That's the path. That's the way. There is no magic, just mastery. And mastery is earned in repetition. Think of the greatest in any field. They did not wake up every day thrilled to practice. They did not always love the grind, but they did it anyway, and in doing so, they became what others only dream about. That's what separates the wishers from the doers. That's what turns potential into performance. So you must ask yourself, what do I want more, comfort or greatness, ease or impact, because you cannot have both. Every day, the world gives you 100 reasons to slow down, to rest, to put it off. And every day, you must give yourself one reason to keep going because you said you would, because it matters, because your future is waiting, and if you stay long enough in the fire, something changes. What once felt hard becomes natural. What once required force becomes your new rhythm. Discipline stops being something you drag behind you, and starts being something you carry with pride. It becomes your edge, your anchor, your identity, and when you reach that point when discipline is no longer something you use, but something you are, you become unstoppable, not because you have more energy than others, not because the road got easier, but because you made a decision to keep showing up. And you never stopped. Let me tell you why most people never reach their potential. It's not because they lack talent. It's not because they don't work hard. It's because they have no clarity. They move through life in a fog, busy, tired, chasing things they haven't taken the time to define. They confuse movement with progress. But until you know exactly where you're going, your effort doesn't matter. You can run fast in the wrong direction. And that's what most people do. They run, they push, they grind, but they don't ask the most important question, why? Clarity is power. It is the foundation of focus. When you are clear, distractions lose their appeal. When you are clear, detours no longer pull you off course. You don't entertain every opinion, every opportunity, every offer because you already know what you're building. And when you know what you're building, you only say yes to what moves you closer to it. People talk about hustle as if hustle alone is enough. But hustle without vision is wasted energy. It burns hot and fast, then dies out. But when your energy is tied to a clear destination, a vision so strong you can see it, hear it, feel it now, you're unstoppable. You're no longer reacting, you're creating. The person who outperforms everyone else isn't always the fastest, the smartest, or the strongest. But they are the clearest. They know what they want, why they want it, and what price they're willing to pay. And because of that, they don't hesitate. They don't stop to ask for directions every few miles. They don't need approval or applause. They've already decided. Their course is set. You must understand this. Clarity is not a luxury. It's not something you get to figure out later. It is the beginning of all achievement. A man without a target will hit nothing, and most people go through life just like that, aiming at nothing and wondering why they keep missing. Now, clarity does not mean you know every step. It doesn't mean you can predict the future. It means you know the destination. You hold the picture of where you're going so firmly in your mind that the details begin to reveal themselves along the way. You walk in faith, but not blind faith. You're guided by a vision you have deliberately chosen. I've met people who say they want success, but when I ask them what that means, they stumble. They give vague answers: more money, more freedom, more happiness. But that's not clarity. That's fantasy. You cannot build your life on generalities. Your mind needs specifics. The clearer the vision, the faster the progress. The sharper the focus, the greater the results. And here's the truth, clarity takes courage. It means deciding what you really want, not what others expect of you. It means saying no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. It means stepping away from the crowd and carving your own path, even when it's uncomfortable. There will be voices, plenty of them, trying to steer you off course. Some will come from people who love you. Others will come from your own fear. But if you have clarity, none of them can shake you. Your path may twist, the road may rise and fall, but the vision stays the same. It becomes your compass. It tells you where to go when the noise gets loud. It reminds you why you started when the days are hard. And it keeps your feet moving when others stop. You must treat your vision like a sacred contract. Write it down, speak it daily, guard it fiercely. The world will test it. Life will throw distractions your way. But if your vision is clear, it will pull you through, because clarity doesn't just give you direction, it gives you strength. And let me say this clearly, if you do not define your life, someone else will. And they will not design it with your greatness in mind. They will shape it to serve their agenda. That's how people end up stuck living lives they never chose, working jobs they hate, following routines that drain them. Not because they failed, but because they never decided. So decide with boldness. See it first in your mind before the world can see it with their eyes. Hold that picture, build that vision, and walk toward it every single day. Because when you have clarity, the world gets out of your way. Let me share a truth that will liberate you if you're willing to accept it. Your greatest competition is not the person next to you, it's the voice inside you. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others and start commanding your own direction, everything changes. That's when you start to move differently, not with desperation, but with conviction, not with doubt, but with authority. Because you're no longer chasing someone else's shadow, you're walking in your own light. You see, the habit of comparison is a thief. It robs you of peace, of power, of purpose. When you constantly measure yourself against others, you're distracted. You're focused on what they're doing, how far they've gone, what recognition they've received, and all the while, you're taking your eyes off your own path. You're planting seeds of inadequacy in your mind. And those seeds grow fast. They turn confidence into confusion. They turn effort into insecurity. They make you question your pace, your progress, your potential. But here's the thing, no one else is living your life. No one else has your story, your lessons, your calling. So how can they be your measure? They can't. You were never meant to compete with them. You were meant to command your life. That means you decide the pace. You define what success looks like. You choose what matters, and you act from purpose, not pressure. People waste years chasing trophies that were never meant for them. They follow trends. They mirror others. They build lives that look good on the outside but feel empty on the inside. Why? Because they were performing, not commanding. They were copying, not creating. And that's no way to live. To outperform everyone else, you must stop trying to be like everyone else. There is no power in imitation. Power comes from authenticity. Power comes from ownership, owning your strengths, your flaws, your journey. When you command your life, you're not looking to fit in. You're looking to stand out, not for attention, but because you refuse to shrink to the size of other people's opinions. Now, I'm not saying ignore wisdom. I'm not saying isolate yourself. But there's a difference between learning from someone and trying to become them. You can admire a person without abandoning your own identity, and you should. Learn, grow, observe, but never lose your voice in someone else's echo. When you lead yourself, when you take command of your mind, your decisions, your time, you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. Your consistency speaks for you. Your discipline speaks for you. Your results speak for you. That's how real performers move, quiet, focused, locked in. They're not chasing the spotlight, they're chasing excellence. And because of that, the spotlight often ends up chasing them. And let me tell you something else, the one who leads themselves well becomes impossible to ignore. They're not swayed by comparison because they are too busy building. They don't stop to measure how someone else is running because they know comparison is a distraction, and distractions are the enemy of greatness. If you want to command your life, you must be intentional. You must decide daily to keep your eyes on your own purpose. You must filter your decisions through your vision, not your emotions, not the crowd, not your fear. Because the moment you start seeking validation, you've already given up control. The person who needs approval to act will always be held hostage by the opinions of others. You weren't built for that. You were built to lead, but you can't lead others until you lead yourself. And leadership begins with clarity, discipline, and the unwavering decision to stay in your lane even when it's hard, even when it's slow, even when someone else seems to be ahead. Because what looks like winning on the outside is often hiding confusion on the inside. Don't be fooled. The race is not to the swift. It's to the steady, the committed, the clear. So decide right now. No more comparison, no more self. Doubt disguised as humility. From this moment forward, you command your thoughts. You command your habits. You command your future, not with arrogance, but with authority. Not to prove something, but because deep down you already know who you are. And that knowing, that quiet certainty, is what makes you unstoppable. If you truly want to become unstoppable, if you want to rise so far above the rest that they can't even see the path you've taken, then you must understand the power of persistence. Not the kind that shows up when things are easy, not the kind that lasts for a few weeks when you're full of energy and the road is smooth. I'm talking about the kind of persistence that keeps you moving when everything in you screams to quit. The kind that digs in when nothing is working. The kind that endures the silence, the delays, the rejection, the failure, and keeps going anyway. Most people stop too soon. They stop when they hit resistance. They stop when the applause fades. They stop when it gets uncomfortable. But let me tell you something, the moment it gets hard is the moment most people turn back, and that is the exact moment you must lean in. That's where the real growth happens. That's where you separate yourself. Because persistence isn't just about continuing, it's about outlasting. You will meet obstacles, that is certain. Life will test you. Not once, but many times. It will ask, do you really want this? Are you serious about this dream? Or is it just a nice idea when things are easy? And how you answer in those moments, not with your words, but with your actions, will determine everything. Because persistence is proof. It proves to the world, to yourself, and to your purpose that you mean business. And here's what you have to know. The breakthrough doesn't come to the most talented. It comes to the most committed. The world is full of gifted people who never finished what they started. People with ideas, with passion, with potential but no endurance. They gave up before the result arrived, and so they never got to see what could have been theirs. They mistook delay for denial. They thought failure was final. But failure is not the end, it's the doorway, and persistence is the key that opens it. Every person who has ever created something great, who has ever changed their life, who has ever outperformed the crowd, faced moments when quitting looked easier, but they stayed in the work. They stayed through the rejection letters, the closed doors, the criticism, the nights of doubt, and because they stayed, they succeeded. There will be times when nothing seems to be working, when the results don't match the effort. When the world is quiet and no one claps and you wonder if you've been forgotten, that's where most give up. They look for signs, for permission, for validation, but those who are truly unstoppable, they don't wait for signs. They are the sign. They move forward not because it's easy, but because they've already decided. Their commitment doesn't fluctuate with the weather. Their dream doesn't dissolve in the face of delay. Let me tell you something you need to write on your heart. Success takes longer than you think. The mountain doesn't move on your schedule. The reward does not appear just because you want it to. You have to work when it's boring. You have to show up when you're tired. You have to believe when it looks like it's not working. And every day you do that, you build momentum, you build strength, you build character. These invisible wins compound, and eventually they explode into visible results. Persistence is not glamorous. It's not flashy. It often looks like repetition, like showing up again and again, doing the same task with excellence, even when no one's watching. But make no mistake that repetition is building something within you that cannot be taken away. Others may outshine you temporarily, but if you persist, you will outlast them permanently. You can train persistence just like a muscle. Every time you choose to keep going when it would be easier to stop, you strengthen it. Every time you push through discomfort instead of backing down, you make it easier to do it again, and eventually, persistence becomes your default, not because things get easier, but because you get stronger. So when you hit the wall and you will don't walk away, dig in. When the dream takes longer than you expected, hold the vision even tighter. When the results are slow, trust the process, because if you don't quit, you can't lose. And if you stay the course, you'll find yourself standing in places others only dreamed of, not because you had more, but because you gave more. And that relentless decision to keep going is what makes you unstoppable. There's one more thing you must understand if you truly want to become unstoppable and outperform everyone else, and it may be the most misunderstood principle of them all. Success is not a destination. It's not a point you reach where everything is perfect and nothing challenges you anymore. Real success is a state of growth, constant, deliberate, and unending. It is the refusal to stay where you are, no matter how far you've come. Because the moment you stop growing, you start declining, and the man who thinks he has arrived has already begun his fall. You must be willing to invest in yourself every single day. That is the secret most overlook. They invest in clothes, in comforts, in distractions, but not in their mind, their skill, their character, and yet it is your mind that makes the decisions. It is your skill that earns the opportunity. It is your character that sustains the result. If you neglect these things, you are building a life on shallow ground, and when the storm comes, and it always comes, everything will shake. Growth isn't something you do once in a while. It's not something you get around to when it's convenient. It must become your daily rhythm. You must feed your mind like you feed your body with discipline, intention, and consistency. Read, reflect. Learn, challenge your assumptions. Surround yourself with people who stretch you, not just those who agree with you, because ease does not produce excellence. And comfort never created a champion. You will never outperform everyone else if you are learning at the same pace as them. If you read what they read, think how they think, do what they do, then at best you'll be equal. But if you want to rise above, you must grow beyond. That means seeking knowledge others ignore, practicing what others avoid, training your mind to think bigger, longer, deeper. Most people live reactive lives. They wait until there's a problem to learn how to solve it. But the ones who win, the ones who lead, they study before the storm. They prepare, they grow ahead of the need, and because of that, when the challenges come, they are ready. Now don't mistake growth for perfection. You'll never be perfect. That's not the goal. The goal is to never be the same person you were a year ago, or even a month ago. To look back and see progress, to look forward and feel the pull of who you're becoming, because greatness is not born, it's built, brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice, and the only way to build it is to commit to your own development like your life depends on it, because it does. And here's something else. You will never rise higher than your identity. That's why growth is not just about skills or information. It's about how you see yourself, who you believe you are. Every time you grow, you expand your identity. You shift what you believe is possible for you, and when your identity grows, your behavior follows. You stop settling, you stop shrinking, you start acting like the person you're becoming, not the one you used to be. Some people say they're too busy to grow. They say they don't have time to read, to think, to invest in themselves. But they don't realize that's the exact reason they're stuck. You don't make time for growth because you have the time. You make time for growth so that you can create the life you want. The man who is too busy to grow will always be at the mercy of circumstances. But the one who prioritizes growth creates his own conditions. He takes control, and the beauty is this: growth compounds. It may feel small at first, a new idea here, a new habit there, but over time, those little shifts build something massive. They create new patterns. New results, a new version of you, and eventually people start to wonder how you became so wise, so effective, so far ahead, and the answer will be simple. You chose to grow when others chose to coast. If you truly want to lead, to build, to leave a mark, then growth must become non-negotiable. Not when it's convenient, but always. Not when you feel behind, but even when you're winning, because the best never stop. The best are always becoming, and that commitment, that hunger to improve not just what you do, but who you are, that's what sets the great apart from the good, and that is what makes you unstoppable.